Welcome, everybody, to another wisdom interview from the Rebel Crone. This is Elisa, and today I'm joined by a very dear friend of mine and a colleague. Her name is Linda Crider, and she has I don't want to say a business, but it's more than a business. You know, when you're following your passion and your spirit calling, it's so much more than that. But Linda, I like to say, is a plant magician. She is incredible with what she does. She's a trained herbalist. She also is a trained Bach flower practitioner. And Linda is really passionate about sharing her wisdom. So she speaks and teaches at the local community college so that, that her wisdom can continue on. Now, this past it's been almost a year now that Linda and I did an apprenticeship together with my mystic mentor, her mystic mentor, Elizabeth Seraphine from the Lineages of Light. And that's how we got to know each other and we developed the deep, deep bonds of friendship. So today I'm excited. Linda and I are going to be talking about her special gift, communicating with plants. So I'm going to switch here and bring Linda online. Welcome.
Hello, Lisa. Hi, everybody.
Hey, I'm so glad that we finally are able to do this conversation. I dare say most people are familiar with herbs and the incredible medicinal properties, the natural medicinal properties of dealing with plant medicine. But I'm not sure if many people know or actually acknowledge that plants are living beings of a different vibration, a different nature, but they're very living beings. And certain people have the gift of being able to communicate with them. And that would be you. So let's start with, I would love for you to share with everybody how you came to this realization from being this herbalist and a Bach flower practitioner. And then can you tell us a little bit about your journey coming into real deep communion with our plant family?
Sure. First of all, thank you for calling me a plant magician. I've not been called that, but actually, I want to start by saying that anyone really can develop this special relationship with plants. We're all connected to the earth, we're all connected to the plants. It's just a matter of being aware. And from the time I was very young, I loved plants, house plants, being outside, forests, pictures of the forests, all of that was just so very appealing to me. So as I got older, I started studying what plants do, and I got very interested in herbs, herbal remedies, plant medicine. What can plants do to help you physically? As opposed to, say, taking pharmaceutical drugs or anything like that, just something that would make you healthier just by working with plant medicine, herbs in particular. And that went on for actually several decades. I've been doing this for quite a while. Uh, and then I started getting into something called flower essences or plant essences. And that's a little bit different because even though plants, herbs, essential oils, they work very well on your physical body. Flower essences or plant essences work on the emotional body. So I started getting very interested in that. I've always been interested in holistic health, the mind body connection. And it's so very important to recognize that your emotional state is very, very much connected to your physical state. If your emotions are out of balance, then eventually that's going to show up in your physical body. And so I started studying Dr. Bach's work, the Bach flower essence system, which is a system of 38 different flower essences, and each one deals with balancing an emotional issue. And it's all about balance. It's all about not changing your personality, but changing your perspective. Change the way you look at things, and the way and things that you look at will change. So that's kind of the belief system that I started kind of getting myself more geared into. I still work with herbs and I still work with essential oils, but I added that other component of emotional
Can I add
balance and the
something
importance
to
of that.
that? Can I add something to that, Linda? Because I just have a
Sure.
question here.
Mhm,
Because a lot of people will think, oh, there's good and bad emotions, but
mhm.
really there's emotions, and it's emotions become toxic or negative, right, when they get out of balance. Either they're
Exactly.
suppressed, right, or they're overly expressed.
Exactly. Yeah. It is a matter. Balance, that's one of my favorite words because balance is so important on so many different levels. But on an emotional level, it's kind of like you're just kind of maintaining an even keel. And as I said, the plant essences, they don't change your emotions, they balance them. So if you're just kind of going too far into, say, anger or fear, it'll just kind of bring you back into a place where, okay, I'm okay, it's okay, we're all good, that kind of thing. So,
Could
yeah.
Could you share just just because there's such an interesting story about Dr. Bach and
Mhm.
how he figured out the essences, the emotional essence of a plant, because it really ties into what you're doing. It was somebody, I don't know when he did this, it was a long time ago, but he just became more sensitive and really observant.
Right. Dr. Bach actually was an Orthodox conventional medical practitioner. He was a doctor on Harley Street in London. This would have been back in the late 1930s. But he was somebody who was always close to nature, had an affinity with nature, and the whole conventional medicine way was not working for him because what he realized was something was being left out, and it was that whole emotional thing, that whole personality thing. That part of the equation, that part of the healing equation was it was ignored by his colleagues. So he, and this is going over several decades, he finally said, okay, well, I'm going to just work with homeopathy, which is something similar to plant essences because that also is a form of vibrational healing and it also works to balance. So he did that for a while and that quite wasn't it. So he finally just decided that he is going to do something different. He's going to do something simple, something gentle, very non-invasive. So over a period of, I'd say about 10 to 20 years, he moved from Harley Street, he moved to the countryside, the British countryside. And what he would do, and this is really interesting how he would do it, he would, he was a very intuitive man to begin with, and also very, very a keen observer of human nature. So what he would do is he would wander the meadows and the fields around where his little cottage was in the countryside. And if he felt a certain emotion like fear or jealousy, he would intuitively find the flower that helped him feel better. And that's how the process started. So, what he would do in the beginning is, and this is a very tedious process, early in the morning, now this is Great Britain now, so the sun doesn't always shine there as much as it does here. Early in the morning, he would gather the dew from that flower and he would ingest it. And that's how it all kind of started. He would do this himself, and then he would do this with the people in his village. And eventually, it went from one, two, three of these remedies into 12, and then eventually into 19, and then eventually into 38. So I'm kind of fast forwarding through the way he did it, but that was the process. So the whole idea was he communicated with the plants. He in some way, just like the ancient shamans do and did, he communicated with what they were trying to tell him, what medicine they would have to give him. So does
I
that make
love
sense?
that.
There.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a fabulous story. And I think it's such a great segue into your story.
Mhm.
So could you share with my listeners just about what was the transition for you to take this love for Mother Nature, this love for what she bequeaths us, the healing aspect of it to actually communicating and listening. I say two different things is actually talking to and listening. Because I think
Yes.
we all talk to our plants and we love
Yeah,
plants.
that's
We're like, oh, grow for mama, oh, pretty baby. But you started hearing as well. So can you share that with us, please?
exactly. We all do talk to our plants. That has been out there for decades. Talk to your plants, sing to your plants, but the whole idea is to give them a chance to tell you what they have to say. You're out there saying, "Oh, they're lovely little plants," and I'm singing you a song, and they're just like, "Can I say something, please?"
Hello.
Yeah. So I guess what really made me stop and think and to make the transition was the class that you and I shared, uh, Elizabeth's class on working with shamanic practices and incorporating them into the kind of work that we were doing. So that really made me stop and think, well, wait a minute, if the shamans had this connection to the plants, then we should be able to make that connection too. So it's been an experimental process. It has been a journey. You've used that word a few times. It has been a journey, and I am still kind of on that journey. I think we're always on these journeys continuously. But that I think is what really got me thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe I've left out this spiritual side of this because yes, there's the emotional side, but then there's this spiritual side of this as well. So why not? And of course, Elizabeth, our mentor, helped me to realize one day we were having a little private conversation, and she just said, well, why don't you try doing this with your plants? And I thought, why don't I? So I did.
And this is the shamanic journey you talk about. Try this was we were training in shamanic journeying, not using ironically not using plant medicines, but using like drumming and crystal bowls and things like that to transition our consciousness, just so people understand that it was like I don't know if that's which shamanic avenue that's from, but it wasn't using plant medicine. It was naturally induced through breath and through,
Right,
like say, like the drumming of repetitive sounds. So those that ancient practice of
right,
that, yeah.
right. Yeah, it was a little bit of both. It was just kind of applying those acquired skills to the whole plant medicine aspect of things.
Mhm.
And it's been such a wonderful journey. It was such one of those aha moments. It's like, yeah, I think I can do that. And I started to, and one thing led to another, and I just thought, this is really working. It's been a process, but I love it.
Well, let's
It just
talk a
makes
little
me
bit
feel.
about, let's just talk not about so much the process because that's unique to you, but a little bit like what happened. So when Linda's saying like a shamanic journey, it's a mechanism of altering your consciousness. So you are vibrating on a different level and
Mhm.
you have access to different things on a higher level. Our current, like our regular senses that we use every day keep us within a certain bandwidth of perception, if that's fair to say. And when you
Mhm.
alter your consciousness, then you're opening up that bandwidth to a bigger one. And it's
Yes,
within that bandwidth, right, Linda, that you have found this beautiful ability of communing with plants and
yes.
being able to listen, not only talk, but you listen to them. So what does a plant sound like? No, let's explain to you. So they're thinking, well, what do they have? Like the little plant says, well, hey,
Yeah.
Linda, I need some more water, please. Could you explain a little bit like what is it like? How does a plant talk to you?
Well, plants speak to us in different ways, and it's really a very highly individual thing. So the more I have studied this, specifically reading books and studying with people who have been plant spirit healers for many years, uh, everyone's experience is different. Some people see pictures. Some people feel vibrations. Some people hear words. I guess in my case, it's more just like hearing um, hearing the words, not seeing them. Some people see them like across a screen. As I said, everyone's experience is so very different. So for me, it's just more like I'm in a mild state of, I guess you would say, a trance, a very mild trance, like a meditative state. And I just kind of go with what comes. I put my intention out there and I ask for the plant to accept me. Is it okay? Are you willing to share something with me today? And I just go with what comes. And in my case, I hear things and I go with what I get right away because it's tricky. It's kind of a tricky thing because, you're still conscious. It's not like you're sleeping, but you don't want to feed into it. That people will ask
Get
me all the time, they'll say,
self-active, like get self-active with it. It's kind of like, would this be a fair kind of analogy, Linda? But I know for me, for like just intuition, and as women, this is a sense that I think we have access to in a different way. But with my intuition over the years, as I started paying more and more attention to my intuition on things, the clearer it became. So I like we can develop our intuition, and it comes to us in different ways. Sometimes it's a feeling, and then sometimes it's just like to me, it's almost like a download of knowing, or like an idea. It can be in different ways, but the more I honor it and the more I listen to it, the stronger it becomes.
yes,
And not getting, because then we can start interpreting it. So I don't know if that's kind of the crossover thing. When you try to interpret it, you kind of consciously get in there, you can mess up the message.
yes. And I like the word download because we're all familiar with that word now. And it
Yeah.
is that kind of thing. You're sort of getting a download. So you're not creating it yourself. It's coming from it's hard to explain, coming from the spirit world that you have kind of gotten a peek into, you're kind of accessing into, and you're getting that download. So
Yeah.
that's really the way it
I've heard
that's the
similar things with excuse me, animal communicators.
yes,
They do it in a little bit different way, but it's very similar. It's this vibrational connection out of love, out of love and appreciation. You're loving that plant. You're connecting, you're focusing your attention on there. And then you allow I think like a vibrational merging, right? So that you can communicate with them.
yes,
Just like we do with people, right? Like you and I really
exactly.
connect, and so we can talk and commune a certain way that's different
Mhm.
from other people we don't connect so well with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there are certain plants that resonate better with you. And the more I study the people who have done this, there are certain flowers, certain plants that seem to have, I guess you'd say, a reputation for helping with particular issues. But then there's also sometimes you have a special connection with a particular plant, or that plant finds you. A good example of this is this past summer. I have a fairly small enclosed yard, and I have a lot of wildflowers, and I've got some garden boxes. But this past summer, I had, and I even counted them or tried to count them. I had 70 mullein plants. Okay. Now, if those of you, it depends on what part of the country you live in, but mullein is a plant that has actually a 2-year growing system. And the first phase is just this kind of large sort of nest, very soft kind of leaf. And then the second phase, they grow up into these spikes with little yellow flowers. You may have seen them on the side of the road. They're
I have
very,
one right out there,
I
Linda.
don't
That's
doubt it. Well, yeah, yeah. Well,
and
you're
I but
in,
I didn't know that it was a 2-year thing.
yeah, yeah. The first year it's the small thing, and then the second year they kind of grow up. Well, these guys, they were in different phases, but most of them did. They were in that second phase of growth. So it was just kind of like an army out there. And it finally occurred to me, I think they're trying to tell me. And this is what they do. I mean, the plants, they sometimes find you. It isn't so much you going looking for them. Yeah, you can open yourself up and say, okay, whoever wants to talk to me, fine. But they sometimes will find you. And I have found that this has happened to me several times without me even realizing that that's what this was. So I thought, okay, I get it. I kind of call them my army because that's what it looked like. Some of them grew as tall as, oh, 5 feet. I mean, they were taller than me.
Almost as tall as you.
Yeah, actually, some of them were a little taller. So it was kind of like, okay, I get it. I call them my little army. I felt like they were protecting me. And the interesting thing about mullein is that as an herb, mullein is very good for the lungs, very good for the respiratory system. And of course, we're moving into cold and flu season. And so people are getting, these little things. And so I thought, well, it's showing up so that I can talk about it more in my classes. I can tincture it, which is what I did. I eventually made my own tincture out of one or two of the plants that were there. But my point is that they found me, and it was like a tap on the shoulder. And it was
It was like a roar at the back door.
exactly, it was an army. It was literally, I had the Mullen National Guard in my backyard. So, so yeah, so
That's
that's
so
the kind
funny.
of thing that I have become more aware of. Now, things like this, I'm sure, have happened in the past. They probably have happened to all of us. But when you start being more aware of the fact that these these beings, these sentient beings, are actually they're reaching out to you. So it's not just us reaching out to them, it's them reaching out to us. And
I
I
love
think having that connection is so important, especially these days with so much technology and all of that. It's great, but you lose your connection to the earth, you lose your connection to the plants, to the animals. And this by doing this, by having this awareness, even if it's just awareness of a plant in your house or a plant that you have on your patio, it doesn't matter. It's not like you have to live in a meadow or in the woods, although that would be optimal. You don't have to. It's just having this connection with these sentient green beings. I think it
Well, there
really has a
we're
lot to do with.
we're a plant. We are beings of the earth. These bodies come from earth substance,
Yes,
and we all believe, we talk about the one and the interconnectedness of humanity and people, but it's also with the earth. And that's one of the things I feel like that the earth and humanity has suffered from, is that disconnect. We don't need to go into all that because there's a lot of reasons and stuff behind that, but the what's important is that we can start reconnecting,
right.
to the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and of course there's the mineral kingdom, and these are all sentient at a certain level. Now, before we started, you had shared something really, well, you start to share something with me really special, and I want to talk about this for a minute, because when I moved into this beautiful old hacienda south of Santa Fe 3 years ago, it's surrounded with old growth rose bushes. I got rose bushes in the inner sanctum of the property, big giant bushes, and they're so prolific and so happy. And you were sharing a little something about the just sort of what the almost like the holographic properties of plants in humans, like how their design is reflective of people in a certain way. And I don't know if I'm
Mhm.
if I'm capturing that right, but could you go into a little bit more using a rose as an example?
Sure, sure. Back in the day, before we had the internet and before we had books, the way medicine people figured what medicine do plants have to offer, they would actually observe them. They would look at them and they would observe their texture, their growth process, their color, how they felt, how they smelled, and all of that gave them an indication of what the plant medicine would, or what that plant had to offer medicinally. So eventually that evolved into something called the Doctrine of Signatures, and that's a long story. But um, my point is that visually, plants speak to us, even without talking to them or going into any sort of a shamanic journey. It's just visually just observing what they have to say. And what's really nice about roses, especially for women, is that the growth process of the rose, and our teacher Elizabeth pointed me in this direction. And when I started to think about it, it really is amazing how the growth process of the rose really parallels the phases of a woman's life. The maiden, the mother, and the crone. Because if you look at the way the rose grows, first you have the bud, and the bud is pretty and it's little and it's just getting started. And this really parallels the maiden phase in a woman's life, because that is when we're just starting. We haven't quite bloomed yet, but we're just starting to get there. And that eventually opens, that bud will open, and it blossoms into this beautiful flower. And that corresponds to the mother phase in a woman's life, when we are opening up, we're blossoming, we're creating, whether it means we're having children or whether we're writing books or just developing a career. That is the phase where we're out there. We're very visual, very impressive. But then that only lasts for so long, and the petals start to fall, they start to fade, and they fall. But then you are left with the real gem. Then you're left with the rose hip, and that would correspond to the crone phase or the wise woman phase, because the rose hip, that contains the medicine. That's where the vitamins are. There's a whole lot of vitamin C in rose hips, especially the roses like growing around your property, Elisa, because there's many different species of roses and a lot of different hybrids. But the wild roses are the ones that really have that great medicinal hip, which is a source of vitamin C, a lot of vitamin C, a lot of other vitamins and minerals. And also, those of you who are into cosmetics, the rose hip oil is a very active ingredient in a lot of cosmetics because it's very healing to the skin. So
It's
that's
so funny
kind of
you
that
should
ended.
mention that. Because I have a bowl in the other room. I went the other day and I picked all kinds of rose hips. I've got this big bowl of them.
Oh,
Now, my roses are hybrids, but they're still on our property and I love them and I think they love me. But so I picked, so I have all these rose hips, but we didn't set this up beforehand, I promise. But I don't know what to do with them. So maybe we'll talk afterwards. You can share with me what to do because I know they're medicinal and they're very special. And I didn't think about them being crone phase and me being crone phase and how perfect that works.
it does. Yeah. So that's just one way that, looking at and observing how a plant grows can tell you so much. And
Yeah.
it really, and roses are so connected to women, so connected to Venus. It's just the divine feminine. It's just really a really beautiful analogy.
And we all know there's something really special about roses. It's the language of love, right? When
Yes.
when a man gives a woman or a partner gives their partner a bouquet or a dozen of roses, that is a very special gesture. A lot of times when we get married, it's going to be roses will be somewhere in the
Mhm.
bouquet or something. I mean, it just is like a universal kind of acknowledgement of something about love and about a high vibration, because love is a high, very high vibration. So there's some kind of high vibration that has to
Mhm.
do with the rose.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
connected to relationships.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's so special. So then let's talk a little bit about what, some of the things that you do. And one of the things you did for me at one point in time was I have a couple giant fir trees in the backyard, and they looked like they were struggling. I think I probably felt that they were a little bit struggling. There's some visible signs. So I asked Linda if she would do a journey for me and she would communicate with my trees. And she did so. She came back with a message, and it wasn't the message I expected at all. And I have to know that I have been doing that. I've been out hugging my trees, letting them know Mama loves them, giving them attention. Even when I'm not around, I project my consciousness over to my trees and let them know that they're surrounded, they're loved, they're not all alone, and all of that. So part of that is what you do for people, right? Is that is one of your services would be to whether it's like planted ones, right? Plants or naturally occurring. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like for you, the process, and what usually it provides for the people needing your help?
Well, like in your case, you were a little concerned about their health, the health of the trees themselves. So that was kind of your question. So I would take that particular question, and when I would just settle into doing this plant spirit journey, I would bring that question to the plant, to the spirit of the plant, and then listen to whatever they have to say. And it's not necessarily what you want to hear or what I think you want to hear. It's really what they have to say. So you have to get your mind in a place where they're the ones in charge. This isn't you. This is them. So and again, I hear things, I hear words. I hold on to those words as best as I can because you can't be writing things down when you're in this meditative state. And then I communicate them back to the individual and say that this is what I heard. Now, what does this mean to you? Then it becomes this is what I've heard. So I'm telling you, and you apply it howsoever you want. And a lot of time it's unexpected. It's usually it is a matter of expecting the unexpected. You don't really know what they're going to tell you, but whatever it is they're going to tell you, it has some significance. And a lot of times I don't know what that significance is, but maybe you might, or whoever it is that I'm working with. Or sometimes I have done journeys. I've been doing some writing on this, and sometimes I'll do journeys and just say, well, what's the message for the people out there listening to this, or the people out there reading this? What is the message? What is it that you have to say? And the answers are usually kind of general, but also very much something like unexpected, something that I really wasn't expecting to hear.
Yeah, that was true. That was with my case too. I was thinking, I go, I need more water, I need some minerals, I need something like that. And basically, they wanted to commune with more closely. They wanted to feel my
Yeah,
spirit,
yeah,
and then I can kind of focus in on that. And then I kind of knew when, because I've always gone up if I've hugged trees or something, you just feel it's kind of this general good feeling stuff. But I never really like thought of the pathway in, but you helped give me like a pathway to like, all right, to kind of to communicate more, to just, let him know more in my energy what I'm sharing, that I'm here for them,
yeah.
all of that. But I think you said something really important that I want to touch on quickly is that you just deliver the message, you don't interpret the message. And that was, I know that was a really important part of our training with
Yes.
Elizabeth, is that you're the messenger, you're not the interpreter. It's like you just tell the person and then we extrapolate what we need from that. And I just want to share that because in all areas of counseling, spiritual things or any kind of counseling. This is especially working with energies and spirits is for the practitioner to be really aware of that and the person receiving to be really aware of it. That's like that is almost like the I don't know what you want to call it, like in different kind of psychotherapy and stuff, where you just that's a certain line you wouldn't cross, that you always want to, you know, deliver the message, let the person, they will figure it out. So I don't know if I'm being clear on that, but I just feel like it's a good important point to make to for people to be just kind of watchful, mindful of that.
Yes. And a lot of times the plants just want more of your attention. I think
Yeah.
in your case, if I remember right, it was something about do some of your artwork out there, dance around them a little bit. Sometimes they just want attention. And a good example of that is I have a huge rosemary bush in one of my garden boxes. And I would talk to it and it would talk back to me. And I've done some little journeys plant and talked to the plant spirits and have written about it. But I got a little neglectful toward the end of last season, and it started to show. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm neglecting, and they feel that, just like it's like you're developing a relationship with them. You're developing a friendship with them. And when you have a friend, you have to cultivate that friendship. You can't just say, okay, they're there. I'll get in touch with them when I need to talk to them or, when I feel like it. You just have to, there has to be that give and take. There has to be uh, the the cultivation of it. So that's an
Yeah.
important thing too. They feel that, they do, and they also like you to be grateful and to show your gratitude and to bring them little gifts, whether it be like just a little feather or a little crystal or a little pebble, or maybe it's just a little ball of love that you're kind of leaving them. So that's an important thing too.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I'm gonna do some little plant love bombing later with some little presents. But I was thinking too when you were speaking, Linda, like it's so true with relationships with people, but it's also especially true with our relationship with animals. I mean, some people just have a pet. It's my dog, it's my cat. The other people, they have companions, and it's their companion because they've invested time and energy and focus and love in this little four-legged furry being. And you literally commune with them. Like you know what they want. They can just give you that little look and their little whiskers go or their little tail, and you know exactly. Other people wouldn't pick it and they would not have a clue. And that's for me like one of the great joys. I happen to be a crazy cat lady, and one of my one
Yeah.
of my joys is my little fur baby felines. And I get, such an incredible reward of love from them, but I commune with them. And they know it, man. They are on me. I'm pack leader. They follow me. I go to lay down somewhere, boom, 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 boom. They're there. It's just the little posse thing. And it's one of my great joys in life.
Yeah,
So you're just saying is this translating that into from the animal kingdom into the plant kingdom, that it still
exactly.
holds absolutely true.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There is spirit in all aspects of nature,
Yeah,
and connecting to the plants is just one way.
I
So,
love it. I love it. Well, is there anything else you want to share? Do you have any other little story, anything you want to share about this?
oh, let's see. Well, I shared my rosemary story. I also
And the
have done,
Mullen story, that was a good one.
yeah, yes, yes. And there are several trees that have just started growing in my backyard. One of them is an elm, a species of elm that grows quite a bit around here, but it just started growing. And, at first I thought, well, I better clip it. But I thought, no, let's let it see what it does. And it's huge now. I mean, this has been over the course of a couple of years, but it's just people say, well, oh, did you plant that? And I'll say, no, it just wanted to be there. And I also have a little baby blue spruce. No, not a blue spruce. It's blue juniper. I always get them confused. It's a blue juniper, and that started to be maybe about that big. And I kind of babied it over winter. I would cover it when we had snow, and now it's about 5 feet tall. and people say, oh, I love that. And I said, it just decided it wanted to be there. So I just see these all as you say, companions, friends, especially the ones that grow like in your vicinity. I mean, you can go for a hike in the woods, or maybe you're walking around your neighborhood and there's a certain tree that you see all the time and you just kind of hi, hello. But the ones that come to you, those are the ones that really have a lot to say to you. So,
Well, I am into listening. The only ones I'm not sure, like the tumbleweeds, because they're spiky and
oh
they hurt.
yeah,
We've got 10 acres, but we've got an acre or a half acre that's adobe wall around there. So I'm sorry, I always feel bad pulling them out, but it's like tumbleweeds.
I
You
know.
got your place out there. I can't have you in here.
Yeah, well, that's all you can really do,
Yeah.
is just simply say, you look very nice, but I can't have you here. Otherwise, really, things would get a little
They
bit
would take over and
get
you
out of
couldn't walk
control.
around.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here, but we need to make room for some other things here. Yeah.
Thank you very
You
much.
do that with little insects in your house too. It's like, okay,
I know.
spider, you're really cute, but I think I'll just put you outside, go find your friends and
Oh my God, speak, we have tarantulas around here. They just, when
oh
they
yeah.
migrate through, they come through. And I had just a couple of times in the yard seen like the big ones. And I don't have a particular phobia with spiders except when they get this big. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
found two baby tarantulas, and a baby tarantula is like that big and it's thick. It's not spindly, it's still thick and furry. There's one in my bathtub. And one, I just happened to be walking down the hall and I noticed a little black spot off the corner of my eye. I was like, and sure enough, it was a baby tarantula.
Well, he obviously
Wouldn't
or she wanted to
squish.
tell you something, so it's kind of like, okay.
I, I don't like to squish bugs.
No.
I like to pick them up, and it's the bug relocation plan.
Yes.
I try to do that with, my kitties. Mice get in, lizards get in. I've gotten really good at catching them. Sometimes they get them faster than me, but I always send them out. I'm like, you go that way, because if you come
Yes.
back this way, I can't promise that it isn't going to end badly for you. So,
Exactly. Tell
yeah.
your friends that there's cats that live here and you really should just stay outside.
In fact, one just jumped up in my lap right now.
Oh, how
This is
cute.
Bugsy, my big Shamu. That's right. Hi, honey. We're talking about kitty cats. So he came to say hi to everybody.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
there's
for
another
sure.
one walking in the door right now.
I
It's
have
like,
three of them. They're out there somewhere circulating. They wondered what I was doing, but I said, well, I just need a little
oh,
quiet. Mom needs a little quiet now.
a
So,
little quiet
yeah,
time. Well, I
yeah.
appreciate you sharing this, Linda, and I hope to have you back on sometime and we can talk more about you. You're just a wealth of information on this whole area of medicine and healing and communing, in a very special way. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, your website is Plant Medicine and Magic, right? And so
Plantmedicineandmagic.com.
.com. And is that the symbol or is it
No, it's
oh,
it's all it's written out.
it's
Plant,
written out.
yeah.
Okay. So Plant Medicine and Magic. I'll put a link in the description under this video. And you also, I noticed that you have like a free gift on your website. Am I right? So can you explain what that is?
Actually, it's a little bit more of a gift of information and a gift of inspiration.
Ah,
It's a little bit more about me and about my story, and then a little bit, just kind of like a little bit of an insight into communicating with the plants, a little tiny plant spirit journey, just to kind of give people an idea of little things that they can do to start that connection.
you were at one time, Linda, you spoke about maybe teaching this. Are you doing that right now, or is that still kind of in the works? Or
That's mainly in the works. What I would like to do on my website is to develop little courses that are about plant medicine generally, not just the plant spirit part, but also the medicinal part, the essential oils, that kind of thing for specific issues like tranquility. What kinds of things help with that? What kinds of things would help with aging gracefully? What kinds of things would help with confidence? That's my plan, but that is very much in the works.
I love that. So, what do you have available right now as far as services that you provide for people?
At this point, kind of the same thing that you described that I did for you, that kind of thing. I really try to make my services more geared to whatever it is you want. You know, some people might want to know something more about flower essences. Some people might want to know just about plant spirit healing or might want me to help them with that. Some people might want to know about herbs or about, well, what three things can you use? Herbs, essential oils, flower essences, plant spirit healing. Some people want the whole thing. So really, I try to customize it as best as I can at this
And you
point.
do have a thing where you can fill out your question if you don't, if you have a question for Linda on her website, you can fill that out and get more information. But I know you have quite a few things on there. You also write articles for several different magazines,
Mhm,
digital magazines, I think. So
mhm.
she's got some lovely articles, and you can get on that email list, which I'm on, which is
Yes.
wonderful. You know, you're a great writer and you have so much wisdom to share. So I really appreciate getting those.
Yeah. Twice a month I send out a very brief newsletter. It would be about whatever has come to me as far as plant spirit healing, plant medicine. I post them the full moon and the new moon. So twice a month. So if you want to get on my email list, I would love to have you join me. And that's how you would do
Yay.
it.
And once again, it's going to be plant medicine and magic. And you find me
Plantmedicineandmagic.com. Yes.
.com. And that's where you find Linda Crider and a connection to her. Yeah, so I love it. Thank you again, Linda, for being my friend, my colleague, and my inspiration. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with everybody. We'll see what questions come this again in the not too distant future.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, everybody, as always, peace from within and just have a blessed, beautiful day.